I never thought I was going to be a tattoo artist when I graduated from art school. I kept having these dreams about taking an ash, making an ink, and tattooing my grandmother onto bear hide. And so I went home to visit in Prince Rupert and I got this tattoo done on my wrist. And tattooing was really the only art scene that was happening in Prince Rupert. Nikita Trimble, my name is Nikita Trimble. My Niska name translates to speaking through art. I come from the house Ahri Walugara. I belong to the Frog clan. And when you introduce yourself that way, that's just something that you do growing up because you don't only represent yourself. You represent your clan, you represent your village, you represent your community and your nation. So I was born and raised in Prince Rupert. Currently, for the past year, we've been living in Terrace, and this is Frida Deasing, the carving school. This one here is a hand poke tattoo, and it's the salmonberry pattern. I went into labor on my 30th birthday with my daughter. Salmonberries represent that month, and this is the tattoo for us.
My name is Jana Angolalik. I am from Cambridge Bay, Nunavut. I'm a traditional Inuit tattoo artist, and I've been in this role for over a year. So growing up in Cambridge Bay looked really beautiful, but also really hard. There's a lot of aftermath still from residential school. So growing up, it was very rough. Growing up in an alcoholic home, a little bit in poverty. I went in and out of foster care and having the vicious cycles being passed down from one generation to the next. But it was also really beautiful to witness my mother, taking the steps she needed to take to have a better life for us. So she sobered up, and then her healing began. I've been able to take what's happened to me and use that as a tool to help others. I've been interested in traditional tattoos for a few years now, and since then it's been a yearning to also feel like I can wear them as well, and it's been a journey to get there, to be able to wear them proudly and confidently and without any shame. The feeling of getting my forehead tattoo brought so much peace, and I think it was because it was a long time leading up to it. And so I didn't tear up during the whole tattoo. I teared up when it was done, when I had realized that I finally got to a point in my life where I felt proud enough to identify myself as an Inuk woman and be a part of something collective.
Hello, my name is Dion Kazis. I'm Hungarian, Métis, and Ntlakmuk. I'm a cultural tattoo practitioner situated in the heart of the revival of Indigenous tattooing in Canada. I grew up in Salmon Arm, BC, which is actually outside of my traditional territory. It was challenging to grow up outside of my ancestral community because I didn't have connection to the land. I didn't have connection to those cultural teachings. I just completed my master's degree, and my research question was revival of Indigenous tattooing. That question was, how is a sleeping tattoo tradition awakened? And so I've moved out here to Mi'kma'ki to start a position as the coordinator of Indigenous Affairs and student advising at Acadia University.
My name is Gregory Williams. I'm from the Skadans clan of the Haida Nation. My Haida name is Kwiaahwa Jones, and I reside in Skidegate, BC. Well, the guy I met kind of brought it into the limelight that I was the first Haida tattoo artist in over 100 years. I remember being a child and liking tattoos, and as I got older, I understood where I come from the Haida Nation and Haida Gwaii, and learning more about myself. I think my biggest influence for wanting to continue as an artist every day is my son, Kyron, and my wife, Susan, and most of all, my daughter, who's passed on from cancer. And I It takes like everything in us to just to function, really. I feel real connected with her through music and art. The 2 Ks that I have in Haida Inc. represent each of my children, Kaya and Kyron. I'm trying to do the best I can to represent her and share her memory with people. They're getting tattoos that signify a part of their life in that moment in time. It's like a stepping stone that they need to move on from something, or a memorial tattoo for somebody. I feel that for me to be a part of that, to help somebody move on from losing somebody or overcoming alcoholism or drugs, I think it's a privilege for me that I get to help someone do that. Any tattoo that I do for somebody, it's almost like adding new life into my artwork as well as my own life. It's in our DNA to be artists. I think that people need to pick and choose carefully what they do with themselves, because everything we do doesn't last forever. And I think being an artist is a good way to spend that time.
My name is Kwiaahwa Jones, but everyone calls me by my middle name. I grew up on a 60-foot seine boat with my dad and my sisters, and we traveled all over Haida Gwaii. Tattooing is the first thing I've done where it feels timeless, and there's like this vivid connection that happens. There's another level of presence, I think, from our ancestors that come when we do this style. Like the machine style is really nice and you can achieve so much so quickly, but that kind of constant buzzing kind of takes away, I think, from the intimacy of the moment. And in this style, you can actually hear the skin pop when you're tattooing, and that's when you know you've tattooed deep enough. I think people want some spirit in their tattoos. Not that, machines don't have it, but there's something else with a hand-poked tattoo that's impressive, I guess, in its experience. And I think people just want to take back their identity.
These tools here are hand-poking tools. So these tools are based off of the old tools that we would have used. And so there's 3 methods that the Niska practiced prior to contact. Hand poking, which is pricking the ink into the skin. We also practiced a scarification method. So we would take a scalpel, cut into the skin, into the dermis, and then take a paintbrush and paint. And then we practiced skin stitching, where you take the needle and you sew in and out of the skin.
For me, I prefer a tattoo machine with Haida art. I like the challenge. I prefer to use contemporary means of tattooing versus traditional methods of tattooing, because I feel that there's room for both, and they're both representing our culture. I think non-Indigenous people getting Indigenous tattoos, in my eyes, is a good thing. I think art is meant to be shared. I've met a lot of people who have a love for Haida art, and I think if the interest they have for getting in design is real, and the artist that drew the design gave them permission to use the design, I think it's great.
Tattooing wasn't for just anybody. There was a responsibility that went with the tattoo, and the chiefs and the matriarchs would decide who would get a tattoo. And then in a year's time, they would go through that process and get that tattoo done. And then once the tattoo was healed, they would be revealed in the feast hall. And there were names that were tied to that and the hereditary rights. And when that person passed on and that name from them passed on, the tattoo would be passed down as well. Tattooing was kind of suppressed somewhere in around the 1850s. With the potlatch ban, it was illegal to practice our culture. And so if you were caught doing anything like that, they would throw you in jail. When you're born, and you're born into your clan and into your house, you know those things, you know all of those pieces of your identity. You're surrounded by them. With the removal of our clans off of our bodies, it's taking away our identity.
Tattooing went dormant. It was really looked down upon and kind of went underground because of the potlatch band. So for us, tattoos are very ceremonial. They go to individuals of merit within a clan. So we have these really fantastic and complex clan systems, and the high-ranking people of a clan used to choose who got a tattoo. One day I'd like to see that system come back, but I think, anyone should and could get tattoos if they want to.
There is a reality for our youth that they're growing up in a world that is volatile. They're growing up in a world that wishes they weren't who they are as an Indigenous person. So the importance of sharing the revival of our tattooing traditions with our youth is a way to anchor them. We always talk about our Indigenous tattooing as tattoo medicine. And a lot of people think about medicine as something that you take to make you feel better about something, And so in a lot of ways, that is what happens. And whenever you need it, you can look down and you know that you're connected to generations of ancestors who prayed you into existence. When I finish a tattoo that is talking about someone's dream, when I bring that dream to reality, it gives me a lot of joy. And I feel very honored that people trust me and entrust me with their bodies. They trust me with their dreams and their aspirations and their hopes. And so it's a very humbling experience to do those. The question of identity is such an important one for us to explore. For many years, I felt off balance. So the work of the revival of Ntlakmuk tattooing has helped me to feel whole and make me feel stronger and firmer in my own identity as an Indigenous person and as an Ntlakmuk person.
I remember the first and the most radical criticism came from a lady my mom's generation, and she had put her finger onto my forehead and said that she didn't like it. I didn't know how to respond, so I took the second, took a deep breath, and I said she doesn't have to like it and that I love it. That afternoon, she called me and apologized. Now this lady who was criticizing these tattoos now wears them. So we have elders now who wear their tattoo. We have a beautiful elder in Cambridge Bay. She now has her womanhood tattoo, and I think she was in her 70s when she received it. I love that I'm now identified as an Inuit woman, because that wasn't always the case. I had a lot of identity issues. I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt too white to be Inuk, and I felt too Inuk to be white. My dad is white and my mom is Inuk. So wearing them has given me identity that I was craving. It's funny when you come across another Indigenous woman, it's almost like an instant sisterhood. It's a beautiful time to be alive, and it's a beautiful time to be a youth, because there's a growing pride, there's a growing revitalization of so many aspects of our culture besides tattooing. It's a piece of art, and it's a form of art. You can add to it, you can morph it, you can continue on your life's journey and still add to your story.
Our young people are looking at tattooing and they're looking at their maternal crests, and they're talking with their elders and with their communities and their chiefs and their matriarchs. They're reconnecting to some part of them that is tens of thousands of years old. Our youth are the fastest growing population with the highest suicide rate. And so if we can anchor a youth in their identity where they're proud of who they are, then they can feel that in their life and they can feel good about being Indigenous. My hope is that any artist that comes through Frida Dzine, if we can teach them who they are in their identity and really build that foundation and that root system, that they can then come from that place of power and really practice their culture and give that back to their people. This practice has been asleep for over 100 years, and we want to ensure that the revival of it is really built on that solid foundation. I feel really proud that my daughter, who's 1.5, is going to grow up seeing her mom and her dad practicing their culture. She's never going to have to question her identity. She's always going to know exactly who she is. For her to be surrounded in that and interested in that, we just couldn't be any more proud if she became an artist. Tattooer, carver, weaver, whatever she wants to do. We're just really proud of her. for me to be able to ground myself in my identity and then give that back to other people, and for them to give that back to their community, is a very good feeling that our people are going to just continue to grow stronger and stronger all across Canada.